Alright, this is John Colo with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're well into fall here, and I'm still getting my fall garden planted out and growing for the season. Got my lettuce bed. You guys probably can't see this right next to it. You'll probably see in an upcoming shot. I got this bed planted out on this side, and I got like about 5 other beds on the other side of the yard all planted out. But today I'm planted out another huge bed. This bed's approximately 4 feet by about 16 feet long. And so this calls for a lot of plants. My lettuce bed actually has, I think, about 104 plants in the same size bed. This bed, because I am planting a different plant or crop, which is all the my leafy greens and brassica family plants. They're going to require a little bit different spacing, like about a 12-inch spacing is what square foot gardening calls for. I'm doing actually a diamond pattern instead of a box pattern. And I got between 14 inches in one direction and 11 inches in the other direction, so I'm fitting 72 plants in this raised bed. I thought I'd share with you guys some of the special fertilizers that I'm putting in to my bed, into my soil to grow higher quality and the most nutritious crops on the entire planet. But before I do, actually I want to share with you guys the plants I'll be planting in this bed. So I got 3 flats here. I'm only going to probably use like 2 flats, so I'm going to pick and choose of these plants. Some I have duplicates of, but I want to go over all the different kinds with you guys real quick. You know, as you guys know, my channel is called Growing Your Greens, and it's called Growing Your Greens for a reason, because especially in the wintertime, I want you guys to really focus on the leafy greens. These are the crops that like grow really well, and they're the most nutritious foods on the entire planet. All these plants here are basically anti-cancer factories, right? They're sitting out here in the sun, they're absorbing the sun rays, right? And they're producing all these plant metabolites. The plant metabolites are actually what the plant produces to keep itself healthy, to prevent and defend itself from diseases and pests, the weather, and all these kind of things. But more importantly, when you eat the plants, you get those benefits. And each one of these different kinds of plants produce a little bit different, witch's brew of these healthful compounds. Isothiocyanates is just one of these many compounds, one of the discovered compounds, and I'm sure there's plenty of other undiscovered ones. So, my goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of leafy greens, and I am easily able to do that in the wintertime with all the greens I'm growing in my garden. So anyways, let's go over the different greens I'll be growing this year in my garden here. Heirloom Kale Red Russian. I love that guy a lot. It's a really good performer. In some areas it'll grow year round. I got 12 of those guys. Over here we got some more leafy greens. This is the Heirloom Kale Lacinato, also known as black kale, Tuscan kale, or dino kale. I got a bunch of those guys here. I got like 3 6-packs. I don't know if I'll be planting all those guys in here. And I got 1 6-pack of the Georgia collards. I did want to mention the Dino Kale. That's also another really good performer. That'll grow in the summer here, also the winter here. So, if you only had to pick one kale, I'd pick the Dinosaur Kale. It's like the most resilient one I found. Going over to collard greens, if you had to only pick one kind of collard greens, I'd pick the Georgia collards. They're more heat resistant, and actually I have, some that I think actually summered, because the summers here are quite hot. I've had plants going the entire summer, Georgia collards. Now, but I grow all these for the leafy greens, although these plants will also go to flower and set seed, which are also all edible. The next category of plants I'm growing mostly for the flowers, but also the greens. The greens on all these guys are all edible. Up next here we got some cheddar cauliflower. So I love the cheddar cauliflower a lot. It grows, the cauliflower, but instead of being the white head, it grows a brilliant cheddar cheese colored cauliflower. So it's like yellow orangish colored, really cool. And I want to encourage you guys, besides just eating phytonutrient rich foods like the leafy greens here, you also want to eat highly pigmented foods. Instead of eating something white, like a white chocolate, right? Eat some cacao nibs. I know that was a bad example, but I really want you guys to focus on foods of color, right? There's new emerging research that has already come out, has been published, and studies that have yet not to be published and not to come out yet. But the phytonutrients are probably, in my opinion, one of the most important nutrients in the food, and especially when you're eating all these refined processed foods, white flour, white sugar, white vinegar, right? All these foods have all these, beneficial pigments processed out of them. And then much of the beneficial properties of the food goes down the toilet, in my opinion. So that's why I'm growing some really rich and colorful foods in my garden to do the exact opposite. This is actually Long Island Brussels sprouts. I don't generally get the Brussels sprouts here, and in like the Brussels sprouts and the stalks like everybody always wants. But I don't really care, because those guys actually I grow for the like immature, buds. Maybe I grow them also in addition for the leaves. So I don't care if I don't get the Brussels sprouts, what I'm used to in the store. All the Brussels sprout plant produces is leaves, copious amounts of leaves that I'll just eat, like collards or kale or cauliflower leaves or broccoli leaves, which all have very similar nutrition for you guys. Of course, next we got some more stuff. We got the cauliflower rainbow mix. So this probably has the white, the cheddar, and the purple cauliflower in there. And like that a lot. Let's move this guy over to here. And then also, I got these guys. We got graffiti cauliflower. So look at the picture on there. This is like a nice purple, rich colored cauliflower. So once again, want you guys to eat the foods of color. And actually, there's been some special research regarding purple foods. So the research was done with purple carrots. They fed rats purple carrots along with junk food, and then they fed another set of rats just the junk food alone. And the rats eating the purple carrots with the junk food either did not gain weight and or lost weight, whereas the animals eating the junk food gain the weight. Now, I'm not saying that eat purple high antioxidant rich foods like purple carrots and then eat junk food. Why even eat the junk food whatsoever? So I just like to eat the purple, deep rich purple pigmented foods such as purple carrots, purple cauliflower, purple broccoli, blueberries, blackberries, without the junk food, right? To get the benefits of those guys, because they probably help you keep you slim and also help keep you healthy. And over in this bunch, we got just the standard purple cauliflower. So I'm not sure if that's different than the graffiti variety that you guys just saw. Of course, we got one last six-pack here. We're going to go over real quick. Now, I'm also growing the broccoli, right? I think it's sad how cauliflower and broccoli are grown for the immature flower buds. That's what they're known for. Like, you go to buy broccoli or cauliflower in the store, and you get the immature flower buds that, are just the flower that you're going to eat. And this is sad because people will not use the leaves of these plants. The leaves of these plants can be eaten just like a kale or collard green. In some instances, in my opinion, they're actually more delicious and sweeter than the kale and collard greens. So, as long as these guys are growing and they're producing leaves, I could harvest these leaves to put in juices, add to smoothies, make kale chips or broccoli leaf chips or cauliflower leaf chips or Brussels sprout leaf chips. Like, to me, it's all the same. Like, greens are greens. And I want to get as many of these guys into me as possible. And I love the winter time because I could do just that. And also because it's so cold out, the plant makes additional sugars and puts them into the leaves so they're actually sweeter. So if you've eaten kale out of your summer garden, you're like, man, that kale stuff, John, that sucks. It tastes bad. I'm not going to eat it. Right? Try it again. Give it another chance and grow it in your winter garden when it's cold, because this will make the sugar come out and they're going to taste so much better. And I'm going to get you to be a lover of kale yet. Right? All right. So here we got the broccoli early dividend. Another thing I want to encourage you guys to do is plant different varieties of the crops, right? I'm growing not just like all, white cauliflower. I got graffiti, I got purple, I got, cheddar, I got a rainbow mix, and same with the broccoli. I got the early dividend here, and then we got another early dividend because I like my cauliflower like I like my women early. No way, that didn't make sense. But yeah, I like the early broccoli, so I have some broccolis, sooner rather than later in the season. So I got two six-packs of those, and I got some English violet broccoli. Never seen this variety before. I'm glad they had this as a start, so I was able to buy it. And, I do want to say that I'm actually quite lucky to have the availability of all these plant starts and all the unique and different varieties, because I know if you only have like one nursery or something near you, you go to that nursery, whatever they got, and that's what you get. So I know some of you guys still buying Bonnie plants from Home Depot and Lowe's and all this stuff. And, I buy those when I don't have any other options. but I'd prefer to go to, a local nursery where I've gotten some of these, or the majority of these plants actually came from CPG Plant Nursery, which, if I remember, I'll post a link down below. They're in Southern California. I basically bought, I think, around 500 plants this last trip, and this is the last major bunch that I'll be planting out in the garden. I got like some stragglers, like 2 more flats left. But yeah, and I'm glad that they really grow a wide variety, so you guys could have a nice selection of different plants and see which ones do better, grow better for you, and also which ones you like are tastier for you. This one is actually called the Broccolini Aspa Brock. So I never grew this before. It's going to be fun to see how it does. And of course, along with my purple cauliflower, I got some purple sprouting broccoli, right? I really like the foods of color, and I think I want to really encourage you guys to grow like purple colored foods. They're the bomb. All right. I think the last bunch, unless I think this is it. I got the broccoli cauliflower Romanesco. So this is kind of a mixture between the two. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and select maybe like 2 flats of all these, maybe not take out the doubles, and then I'm going to plant like all these intermixed in this bed here. And I'm going to get probably planted out, get a good start on it, get planted a bunch out, and then I'm going to come back at you and show you guys how I plant these guys, and more importantly, the special fertilizer that I use to actually already take the high levels of phytonutrients, phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals in these plants that they already produce to the next level. So as you guys can see, I got more than half the bed planted out. In this bed, I got basically 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are all offset, so they're not like even. They're kind of like making a diamond pattern. And going down this direction between this plant and this plant, there's 14 inches. And then going diagonally between plants, there's about 11 inches. So I kind of like this spacing. It just kind of allows me to get more plants in the bed with a little bit more space between them. Normally you would want to space your brassica plants out every 12 inches or so. I like to kind of put them a little bit closer so I could get more plants in the same space. In addition, as you guys can see, there's a lot of extra space in between the plants still. I'm going to go in and either probably seed with some kind of an intermediary plant in between while these guys get big, so I could easily get harvest the radishes in, for example, in between the plants. And maybe I might do something like carrots even in between, some nice root vegetables in between, to maximize my space. I could put like some kind of like leafy green down on the bottom, maybe some like miner's lettuce, or even better, mosh or mâché. Actually, I think I'll do that actually. I love mosh. But anyways, got that planted out. What I thought I'd do next is actually show you guys how I'm planting these guys out. As you guys can see, I got all these stakes. So, the first step is of clearing this bed was it had peppers in it, so I clear cut them down. I just cut to the stems and left all the root matter underneath the ground, and I leave them there. That's my new practice now to encourage more soil microbiome and life in the soil. Unless they get in the way when I'm digging my new planting holes, they stay in the ground and just get to rot in place. And actually, I've only ran into a few of them through this process, so that's kind of cool. It also saves me work from having to, pull them up, shake them out, and compost them in my compost bin. They're just going to go ahead and compost in the bed where they lay. So as you guys can see, I basically put these bamboo stakes. I actually do this elaborate setup of like, making a string from each end to the other end and making a line, and then making little sticks to like space out each plant at the appropriate spacing. And it does take some time, and this is the way I like to garden. I'm not saying you guys have to do this. I know a lot of you guys just plant haphazardly, but I'm really here to produce the most amount of food in the smallest amount of space, and by being more methodical allows me to do just that. So if you want to see actually that process, be sure to check the link down below, if I remember, to a link of actually me planting this exact bed out of peppers, the same peppers that I've clear cut, because I showed you guys from like a roof shot, like how I plant all this out and the whole process I go through. Any case, once we got all the stakes in, I basically pull out one stake at a time, and then I basically take a bulb planter. And yes, I know I'm planting transplants. starts and not bulbs, but I like the bulb planter because it allows me to minimally disturb the soil. Most of you guys might take a little shovel or trowel and dig a little hole, or even your hand, but I like that this gets in there, gives me just about the right size hole to plant from my jumbo 6-packs and everything. And then I actually even have some electrical tape on here to denote how deep I need to go, so I don't go too deep. So I just put that in there and just spin this baby around, go to my depth. I pull out a nice core of soil that's in there, and then I go to a bucket, and then I just tap it out, and it's empty, ready for the next one. Then I got a hole that's all ready to be planted out. So the next thing I do is I actually stock that hole with more nutrients. Oh, now the other step that I didn't mention actually is all this new layer on the top is all new compost mixture. So I mixed things like 2 different kinds of worm castings, maybe 3 different kinds of compost, maybe 3 different kinds of rock dusts, John and Bob's soil products, all 3 different ones that I have, and then also put in like some biochar, some insect frass, like just a mixture of all the different things I have laying around, and mixed it all up, and then topped this whole bed off. Oh, got some coconut coir from the local the local coconut coir company, Wonder Soil. Yeah, but anyways, top this all off, and so that's that's what adds fertility to my soil. In addition, all the other compost that's all in there, that this bed is filled actually with Dr. Earth's bag soil, which is a good high quality product, and this product I would recommend if you can't find bulk stuff near you. It may be still available at Home Depot. I think they might be getting clearanced out, so it might also be good to check your local Home Depot and see if the Dr. Earth stuff is actually on final clearance, when it's going to be dirt cheap, and I'm just going to load up if it is, because I think they might be discontinuing. I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, so top that off. But even then, I want to add further fertility for my plants, especially my baby transplants, as I plant them in. So I add a few things. The first thing is add some of this stuff. This is the Dr. Earth's Life Fertilizer. And this is an all-purpose fertilizer. It's good for, fruits, vegetables, flowering plants, shrubs, ground covers, and even your lawns. And I like that this stuff is actually pelletized. So I have had the powdered Dr. Earth stuff, but I find it gets very dusty very fast. So I like basically just stick my hand in here, and I just take a bunch out and just sprinkle a few bits into each planting hole. All right, and that adds lots of different nutrients. This is a 5-5-5 fertilizer, and lots of different organic materials to add in. But in addition, it also contains non-plant food ingredients, including many different kinds of beneficial bacteria, and more importantly, mycorrhizae, humic acids, kelp, and all kinds of other nutrients for my baby plants to kind of get them off to the right start. Now, besides that stuff, I add something else, and actually I've decanned another product, which I'll talk to you about in a minute when I come back, into this little bucket here, which is actually the original one I got last year. And this is Western Biotech Soil Solutions GTF Glucose Tolerance Factor Soil Conditioner. That's what it says on the label, but that's not what's in here. This is last year's label. I'm just reusing a container, and encourage you guys always to reuse instead of recycle. It's better. So what I do is I empty some soil conditioners into here, and this is what it looks like. It's basically in sawdust. And I take 1 scoop of this stuff, and I put it in each hole. And the scoop size I'm using is a level scoop size of 1 teaspoon. Now, why this step is important is because this adds specific amounts of very essential trace minerals into the planting hole, into the soil, for the plants to absorb, so that then they could hold on to those plants, digest these inorganic minerals, turn them into an organic form, so that when I eat the plants, I could get these very important trace minerals that, in my opinion, and based on research I've read, will help keep me healthy and disease free. And that's very important, because most people have no clue about this, and I'm going to go into a segment at the end of this, even get more into it. So after I add those 2 items to the planting hole, I'm ready to plant my plant start. So what we got here is we got some red Russian kale. How I'm doing this is actually I'm planting in rows, but they're diagonal rows, so it's going to look really cool. I got all red Russian kale on this side, or this row. Got some English violet broccoli in the next row. Got their lacinato or Tuscan kale in the next row, like all the way down. So when it's done, it's going to look really cool, or when it's growing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take one of these little heirloom red Russian kale plants, pop it out of the cell. We got really nice roots in there on the bottom. And so what I generally do is I'll go ahead and take an empty bucket, and this is my basically the soil that I topped off my bed with. I enriched it a little bit more. I'll put this and I'll go over here and I'll just you know, tease out the roots like you're teasing out the hair if you're a girl in the 80s. And we get them kind of hanging out a little bit. And then I put this guy, which is a shaker bottle, which is once again also reused. Unscrew it, and then I just shake a little bit of this stuff on there while I'm like over my little bucket that has all my the stuff that I topped off the bed with. Once I shake that on there, then I'll go very carefully to the planting hole. Maybe I'll put a little bit of the stuff in the bucket in the planting hole, and then I'll drop these guys in there carefully. And then I'll take my fingers and kind of go around and like take out the airspace, because the Jumbo 6-pack size is a little bit smaller than the bulb planter, so we're kind of make sure all the soil is flush near the bottom. And then we're going to finally take like a handful of this stuff on the top and just spread on the top. Sometimes I find on the brassica plants like these guys, you know, they start to pop out, so they can be planted a little bit deeper, and that's what we did. And that's basically how I plant it. Now you're probably wondering, John, what's in this stuff right here? Let me go ahead and show you. So this is a mixture of several different items. I think I have like maybe about at least 2/3 of this shaker bottle is this stuff. It's this stuff right here. It's actually known as the mycorrhizae granular mycorrhiza. So this has different kinds of endo and ecto mycorrhizae, good for both you know, vegetables and trees. And I know what you're thinking right now, John, the brassica family of plants, they don't like colonize with the mycorrhizae. Well, that may be true, but I'm going to also be growing things in between these plants. Plus, I just want them in my soil to hang out, you know, for next time. And also, the other thing is that as much as this is 2/3 of this shaker bottle, I got some other things in there. So the remaining 2/3 consists of a few things. Number one, the Plant Success Soluble Premium Mycorrhiza Inoculant with Trichoderma beneficial bacteria, seaweed, and humic acids. So that also gets the remaining 1/3 in here. I think I like that mainly for the beneficial bacteria. In addition, I got the Pure Protein Dry Powder, also part of this, last 2/3, and of course I got the Aqua Sap. So I add these additional nutrients to really give the plants a boost, so that they don't have as much, you know, shell shock or root shock or transplant shock once they're planted back in. And I've actually already planted all the lettuces and a whole bunch of other stuff with the same mixture that I've been using for years, and I've always been tweaking it over the years. This is my latest mixture, and they always do really well. So yeah, that's how I plant them out. I guess next I need to actually plant the rest of these guys out. Then we're going to come back at you and let you guys know why this sawdust stuff here, these trace minerals, are probably one of the most important agents of fertility you guys could add to your garden, and probably aren't. So as you guys can see me behind me, I got that raised bed all planted out, 72 plants. Took me several hours. That was like today's project today. The sun's going down. It's getting kind of cold. I really dislike when the days get shorter, you know, and the sun goes down earlier. So it just encourages me to get up early, get outside and do my gardening early before it gets too cold in the afternoon. Anyways, I got my gardening done today. Last thing I got to do for this bed is actually just put a little fence around it, because otherwise my dog gets up in there and digs and leaves footprints and poops. So I'll do that after I shoot this video. But I want to come back at you and let you guys know what was that sawdust like powder fertilizer that I was putting in. And I got my new shipment in of that stuff, and what it is, it's actually called the Western Biotech Soil Solutions It says grow your own mineral supplements. And this is the Master Gardener Pack Soil Conditioner. This pack right here is not for the faint at heart, right? This is like if you're serious about your health and about growing high quality food. If you're not, turn off this video now because you could continue to do your free gardening style, right? I mean, and I want to tell you guys real quick like why I'm so into gardening and growing food and growing not only just any old food, but the highest quality, most nutritious food I possibly can. And that's basically because when I was in my 20s, I had a life-threatening illness known as spinal meningitis. I was hospitalized, and my mom stayed by my side the whole time I was hospitalized. I was taken into an intensive care unit. I was passed out. I woke up in intensive care with all these IVs stuck inside me. And, when you're sick in the hospital, you ask the doctor one question. Hey, doc, when am I going to get out of here? And he gave me the answer that no one ever wants to hear, no matter what age you're at. Especially, I was just graduated from college. He said, you might not make it out of here. And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, whoa, this is not a good situation. Like, I might not make it out of here. He's like, you have a viral version of the spinal meningitis, and there is no medical treatment for you. And that's not something anyone wants to hear at any age. And so that I was like, wow, this is messed up. This is the last thing I'm going to see potentially in my life is inside of this hospital and not get to experience life, not to use my college degree to the benefit of anybody or anything or me or anything. And so luckily, as you guys know, I made it out of that situation, but I could not say through the medical system. I can only say through higher powers, and that's what I like to say. I'm here. I was given a second chance, and my second chance is to, in my opinion, help thy fellow man. I made promises and, prayed when I was in the hospital that if I make it out of there, I'm gonna, be a better person in this life and do the best I can. So, anyways, I made it out of that situation, and when I was leaving, I asked the doctor, hey, doc, why did I get in this situation in the first place? Like, why was I sick? And none of my college, buddies that I was playing broom ball with, get sick. And he says, well, you have what's called complement immune deficiency, which basically I have basically, in his words, he says, you're a chronically weakened immune system because of your genes. So he blamed it on my genes. And so then all I knew after I left is that, John, you need to do something to make your genes stronger so that you don't get sick again, you don't get in the hospital, and the doctor's not telling you again at another point, like, you might not make it out alive. Because that's not a fun place to be, right? The only thing I wanted when the doctors told me that is that I just wanted my health. I didn't want $1 million. I didn't want $1 billion. I didn't want, to be president. I didn't want anything except to have my health because I almost lost it. And I think it's really sad in this day and age that we all take our health for granted. We all take being healthy for granted. I take being healthy for granted. I walk around without stomach aches, without, all these different aches and pains like my brother who's a couple years younger than me, And it's only in times when I make a video or really think about it that I really appreciate the health that I have. But, the health that I have did not happen to me haphazardly, right? I've been working very judiciously for the last 21 years now on building my health to the next level. And what's in this box, in my opinion, can take your health to the next level no matter where you're at. So I learned at a young age that your health is your greatest wealth, and it's not about making money in our world, right? It's just about having your life and not only being healthy and living a long life, but living a long, healthy, productive life that you're doing something worthy for worthy goals and making the planet a better place. A lot of people are not making the planet a better place, and so I want to do my part to make this planet better for the future generations and my kids and their kids and their kids' kids. All right. Okay. So, anyways, back to the Soil Solutions soil conditioner and why I think this is revolutionary in fertilizers. Let's go ahead and read the bottom here. It says, provide your soil with proper bioavailable minerals needed to increase mineral uptake in the plants. So here's the thing. As you guys know, I put a lot of different nutrients in my soil, probably more than anybody I know or ever met. Whether that's an overkill or I'm overdoing it or I need to put that much stuff in, that's up to debate. But once again, this is my money and gardening is my hobby and I get to spend my money however I'd like. My dad said, like, when I was a kid, he's like, John, you could take all your money and like take it in pennies and throw it off the Golden Gate Bridge for all I care, because he let us kids do with our money what we want. And I believe that by doing this, I'm making an investment, not an investment into the U.S. Treasury or the Bank of America or anything, but investment in my health, which is my greatest wealth and the thing that I have that is most dear and valuable to me. So I would encourage you guys, to make your health first. And yeah, some of these things that I do may cost a little money, but it's going to grow higher quality food, which means you're going to be a higher quality person. And literally, in my opinion, I'm buying myself out of getting sick in the future. And that is priceless, because I don't want to go through all those pains and all those things that people go through when they're really sick and in the hospital with cancer, and the cancer's eating their body, and I don't even want to know how painful that can be, right? And so up till now, I've added things like the rock dust and different kinds of rock dust, 5 different kinds of rock dust, and different kinds of rock dust with the trace minerals, because I know that trace minerals are super important. I put in soil humates. I had Dr. Joe Wallach, I'll put a link down below to that video if I remember, who's done all kinds of research on how important and vital trace minerals are to your health. And unfortunately, with topsoil degradation, with just the standard farming practices of today, even organic farming practices, they're not replacing the certain trace minerals in the soils like there should be. Furthermore, with soil contamination of certain trace minerals, other trace minerals may not be absorbed properly and things may not work in the system. So I try to bring my soil back into balance and add some of the trace minerals into the soil. And that's what I do with the rock dust. Rock dust is kind of like a shotgun, right? I shotgun all the different minerals, and I hope that my plants take up the minerals they need to be healthy, and plus then I get to eat that and be healthy. But still, it's like playing poker. You're leaving many things up to chance, right? And I don't want to leave things up to chance as much as I have to. I want to only gamble and pull that slot machine lever when I know I'm going to win. Now, how do you know you're going to win? Well, you could rig it, right? And so, that's what this stuff is, the soil conditioner. You're kind of rigging the system. Instead of just putting out all kinds of rock dust and hoping that certain trace minerals are uptake, and when you eat those, you're going to get those in you. The Soil Solutions products, what they allow you to do is they allow you to spoon feed the plant certain minerals that then it converts, takes up, and then makes it bioavailable for us. Furthermore, aside from just the minerals it's taken up, because the plant may be healthier, may be producing, different kind of plant metabolites, which are nutrients for us. So what I want to do now is actually open up this box and show you guys what's inside. All right, in this box here, I got some cool stuff. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So we got mainly the soil conditioner pack right here. And in this pack, there's basically a couple bags, maybe I think 6 bags of this fertilizer stuff. And this is the Emotional Well-Being Formula Soil Conditioner. So what this formula is, it's specifically formulated with certain trace minerals that has been shown in people to be maybe deficient if you maybe don't feel emotionally well, right? So we could flip this over, and then there's a total list of all the different minerals in there. So there's 36 grams of boron, 225 grams of calcium, 365 grams of magnesium, 360 milligrams of selenium, 3,650 milligrams of lithium, 100 grams of sulfur, and the pine shavings. And so here's the thing. You're thinking, John, I could get boron from a supplement. Well, number one, the supplement, while you could take boron and other trace mineral supplements, the absorption rate is very low, and that's not how we're supposed to get our minerals. We're not supposed to be taking these mineral supplements. We're not supposed to be sucking on copper pennies to get our copper. We want to get copper from the foods we eat, and that's how we were designed to do it. The problem is, especially things like boron, which may be deficient in soils across the world, is not in the soils. The food that's being grown in those soils will not have the boron in it. And so how do we know all these minerals are really important? Well, there's this book that comes along with this pack right here. It's actually Minerals and the Genetic Code. Even if you're not going to buy this pack, I would encourage you to go on Amazon and pick up this book so you can learn about how important these trace minerals are. If you don't believe me, it says an exposition and analysis of the Dr. Ulrich Standard Genetic Period Chart and the physical, chemical, and biological connection by Charles Walters. But in here, he goes into all the different minerals and how they're important, for different conditions, and also, more importantly, what specific plants take up these minerals. So, for example, iodine. Iodine, in my opinion, is a big deficiency these days. Most people get it from like eating some iodized salt, but what if you don't eat iodized salt because it's that crap table salt that you cut out your diet? Oh, I eat sea salt, John. You're not going to get enough iodine from sea salt. Maybe you're eating sea minerals, but other than that, things actually in here, it's actually bladderwrack. It's really high in iodine. Pistachios, it's significantly lower in iodine than the kelp or bladderwrack. And then even going down from there, soybeans, red cedar shoots. Anyways, it goes over all the different plants rich in iodine, which is actually significantly lower than the seaweed. So I just recommend seaweed for that. But pistachios could have 51 parts per million. So we're talking like parts per million. The kelp has 5,400 parts per million. And so the thing is this. We know that pistachios can absorb the iodine, but the problem is if there's not iodine in the soils, the pistachio ain't going to have it in there. And this could be true for all minerals. So that's what this book goes over. But let's get back to this right here. So, certain plants will take up certain trace minerals. So, they make recommendations on this formula. So for this formula, if you want to really take up boron and get more boron in your diet, you want to grow things like strawberries, lettuce, tomatoes, and cabbage. If you want to get more calcium, the tomatoes, cauliflower, and dill will absorb more of the calcium. If you want to get the magnesium uptick, you want to grow beans, oats, and spinach. If you want to get the selenium, selenium is a very important trace mineral that I believe many people may be deficient in these days. You want to grow things like milk thistle, lemongrass, and pumpkin. If you want to get lithium, lithium is an essential nutrient. We want to grow thyme, beans, and lettuce. And if you want to get sulfur, very important, cabbage and onions, as well as the amazing tropical fruit named durian, will take up a lot of sulfur. I think also garlic. Garlic also rich in sulfur. But anyways, that lets you know what things you could plant to get those trace minerals. But then here, it has basically the mineral function. So boron, calcium, magnesium, selenium, lithium. I could sit here and read all it. I might read one for maybe the boron. Boron appears to affect calcium and magnesium metabolism and membrane function. It is essential for efficient absorption of calcium in the body. It was found by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to significantly reduce the loss of calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus in postmenopausal women. It may also be helpful for ischemic heart disease and other forms of cardiovascular disease. Boron deficiency signs may be related to the level of vitamin D and possibly other nutrients in the diet. Deficiency symptoms, osteoporosis, and arthritis. So, if you are deficient in certain trace minerals, you may be more likely to get diseases. They've done a lot of different studies regarding that. So anyways, this one is for the emotional well-being. So if you're having emotional well-being issues, this is the one to get. Let's see here. We also got one for the GTF, glucose tolerance factor. This is the one I used last year. If you want to learn significantly more than I'm talking about these trace minerals than this episode, be sure to check that link down below where I interviewed Robert Rissingham regarding these products that he came up with, and how he came up with it and why he came up with it is actually his parents actually had cancer, so he had to come up with a way so that they could get some of the very important trace minerals so that they could overcome their cancer. And I guess he wasn't able to get to one of his parents, but he was able to save the other one as well as his wife's parents. But this one's a glucose tolerance factor. I've been using this, and this one has chromium, vanadium, molybdenum, zinc, sulfur, and the pine shavings. You guys are like trying to get pregnant and you guys can't, right? Then maybe you want to try this one, fertility and potency formula. Yeah, I want to be potent, man. You know what I mean, I mean potent. Does it apply for women too? I think it's mostly men. Chromium, potassium iodide, calcium, manganese, selenium, cobalt, sulfur, and pine shavings. Next one. This is the one actually I've been using this year now, planting all my lettuce. That's, you can see behind me. With this formula, health and immune system formula, this is probably the most important one for me because I did have an immune compromise. I want to make sure my immune system's strong, and it has the specific trace minerals, you know, to build my immune system. And this one has boron, potassium iodine, magnesium, silver, zinc, tin, and sulfur. Got another one here. This is probably the largest killers of Americans in this day and age and people around the world is heart disease. This is Heart Health and Cardiovascular Formula. And this has the calcium, magnesium, selenium, copper, and sulfur. Then I got one left in here. This is an important one for many of you guys, maybe getting up there. I think my dad needs to get on this one. This is the memory formula. And this is for, you know, if you want to enhance your memory, maybe even things like certain diseases that you may lose your memory when you get older. Magnesium, sulfur, boron, cobalt, selenium, and yttrium. That's an interesting one. When have you gotten your yttrium lately? Anyways, each one of these formulas is specifically designed to support certain conditions, so you can actually grow like your own medicine. Literally, your foods, your fruits, and your vegetables will uptake these trace minerals, and you'll get them when you eat the foods that you harvested. Now you might be thinking, John, why is all this important, man? And how much is this stuff? Well, I'll tell you this. With the discount code GYG, you guys get 30% off to buy these guys. And these guys ain't cheap. This whole box, you know, it'll set you back a pretty penny. Might be a paycheck or even two for some of you guys. But each one of these bags after the discount code is going to be around $100, including shipping. But here's the thing. This one bag of soil conditioner for the Heart Health and Cardiovascular formula is going to treat 1 cubic yard. So the rich man's way to use this is actually just to treat a yard, you know, of soil with this, and then put it in your garden and then plant in it. Another way, if you don't want to, you know, mix it into a whole yard, is you could actually till it into a 10 by 10 raised bed, 3 inches deep. You could also do it that way. The way I do it, that's the rich man's way, is just spreading it out in your whole garden, because you're not planting in every area of your garden, unless you're having like a forest style garden. The poor man's way, the way I'm doing it, is actually I just take out 1 teaspoon of this stuff and then put it in each planting hole. That way these bags are going to last me for actually many years to come. So, and they'll last. I mean, these will not evaporate or go bad or anything like that. But yeah, that's this stuff. I mean, definitely really important. I want to exactly show like why it's so important and why I like using this. And this is going to blow your guys' mind, so let me go ahead and grab some paperwork. So here's the thing. Fruits and vegetables and things, they'll absorb these trace minerals if they're in the soil. And in my opinion, you know, soils are getting devoid of minerals due to soil degradation, due to unsustainable farming practices. Yes, even organic farming, you know, is in many cases is degrading the soil because they're still tilling the soil. So I like to do the no-till method, which preserves, you know, some nutrients, and then they're bringing in compost, but the compost is grown on last year's remnants and whatnot. And if the trace minerals aren't in there, they're not going to magically appear unless you're getting heavy metal trace minerals from the, you know, things that are falling out the sky, that I won't mention what they are because some of you guys believe in it and some of you guys don't. But anyways, the foods are deficient in the minerals, and if you're eating a mineral deficient diet, right, you may come down with health conditions, and that's not fun. And I want to avoid these things, and that's why I'm doing and adding all these things into my soil. Anyways, here's a test, right? So this is the health and immune system formula, the one actually I just used for my actually the lettuce bed right over there. And this is a certified lab testing results for boron. So boron, you know, may be a mineral you're deficient in. You know, there's many implications for boron. I could read off one of the back of the packages. I'll send you the website, you know, for this company. You could read about some of the different minerals and what they do and how they can enhance your health. So the company basically grew in a control bed, just this regular soil. You know, they grew vegetables, and then they added in the same soil blend, they added their health formula, and then they grew the same vegetables. So here's, for example, they grew wheatgrass, and if you grew it in the health formula, you could eat like, 1 serving of wheatgrass, and if you just grew it in the control soil, which is like they didn't do anything to, you'd have to eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 servings of wheatgrass, right? So you could have significantly more nutrition in less, volume of food. So for broccoli, you could get the trace minerals by eating 1 head, if you added the health formula instead of, 2 heads for not doing anything. And beans, it's 1 serving of beans instead of 3 servings of beans. So what's the benefit to this? The benefit to this is actually you could eat lower calories to get the same amount of trace minerals. So the calories for the health formula, you could eat 140 calories versus 413 calories. So you could eat significantly less calories, and calorie restriction has been the only thing has been shown to proven to enhance the longevity. So now you could eat less calories but still maintain and get your nutrients. And this is just on the boron. We could go to the next page where we talk about zinc. Zinc, another very important trace mineral. Many friends of mine, whether they're eating a plant-based diet or not, are deficient in zinc. That's because zinc is disappearing from the soils and not being supplemented because standard agriculture is focused on 3 main minerals, putting in NPK, and they don't care about anything else, man. And they're growing these big giant heads of lettuce and things that taste like nothing, that don't give you the nutrients your body really requires to function. And don't even get me started about if you're eating processed foods, man. In processed foods, that's some of the cheapest stuff you could get, and they process a lot of the nutrients out of it. Anyways, for example, zinc. Wheatgrass was the same, whether they added the zinc or not. But, for example, the lettuce, you could eat 1 serving instead of 2 servings. And the calories was 99 versus 104. So that's not like a big savings for zinc, with this formula versus the control. The control already had a good zinc levels in there. But what's even more fun is actually when we get into these guys. This is the silver and the tin. So for example, on silver, for lettuce, you could eat either 1 head if you had this mineral formula added to your soil. And actually, this is the same one I added to my lettuce bed over there. Oh, my light came on, it's getting dark. Or you could eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 servings of lettuce to get the same amount of the trace minerals by using the health formula. And once again, the calorie difference, 140 versus 377. That's like almost like a 2.5, 3 times difference. So on tin, on the health formula and versus the control, you could eat 1 serving of radishes, or you'll have to eat 52 servings of radishes grown in control. I don't know, that's a lot of radish to eat, right? My goal these days is to eat the minimum amount of food and get the maximum amount of nutrients, not only the trace minerals, but also the plant phytochemicals and phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals. And so that's literally what this fertilizer allows me to do. It allows me to really maximize the trace minerals so that I don't have to buy a supplement that maybe isn't easily absorbed. Now this is, of course, this is advanced topic, advanced credit only if you're really serious about your health. Maybe you have a condition. Maybe you have, diabetes or something, right? You might want to try that glucose tolerance factor, right? Try it, right? It's $100, right? You guys are buying insulin or whatever, and if it wasn't covered by insurance, man, it'd cost well more than $100. Like drugs, they're really expensive, right? Investing in some fertilizer, and that's going to last you a long time if you just scoop it out by the teaspoon like I'm doing, right? It's a good investment, and it's going to last. And maybe you'll see a difference in your diet. Now, of course, growing high mineral, food is not the answer to all the world's health challenges. But in my opinion, it's a part of the answer. Trace minerals are definitely, indicated in many different disease situations. And I have seen diseases get reversed by supplementing with foods rich in trace minerals. It may just be eating more fruits and vegetables. That may do it for you. It may be adding in things like kelp powders and seaweed powders and other kind of, plant available trace minerals into you. It might be adding in some of these vegetables that are grown in the soil solution products to basically up the levels of the certain trace minerals you need to be healthy, to get rid of your disease conditions. Of course, also going along with that, I always want to encourage you guys to eat a healthy diet that's focused around plants, right? Eat mostly what you grow in your garden and other plant foods. And if you got to eat other junk foods and processed foods and animal foods, eat those in small quantities, right? I don't really care what you guys eat, but I want you guys to eat a lot of plants, especially the ones you grow in high quality soil. And also when you're spending $100, per bag, like I've just put in my garden, you're going to want to eat your food because you don't want that very nutritious food to go to waste. I love to give my food to my family, my parents, my brother, my friends, that, so they can have some high quality food, right? And maybe they could be healthier because of it. Robert, the owner and CEO of this company, has research to show there's higher uptakes in his products, that he's grown. And the fertilizer products that he's used to grow food is of higher quality. Now, here's the thing, like if you don't want to invest in the fertilizer, which is by far the cheapest way to do this, and as time goes on, since he's a new company, hopefully he's going to get these products into Walmart and all these other places one of these days, and it's going to be like super cheap to do it on mass scale. He does all these, batches by hand and stuff, lots of labor. He uses U.S. labor, pays a fair wage up in Wyoming or wherever he's at. But if you don't want to buy the fertilizer and then grow out with it, what he also has is these guys. He sent me a couple samples here. He has his wheatgrass powder. So this is wheatgrass powder grown in the glucose tolerance factor. So basically he took his product, grew wheatgrass with it. He got the wheatgrass and then he powdered it up and put it in a bottle for you so you guys could take it. This is the glucose tolerance factor. I guess he sent me 3 of those. So this is for people, that may have things like diabetes. This may help them with their blood sugar issues to need less insulin, or maybe even potentially get off it. He has been getting testimonials from people, on just literally changing and adding in some super mineral-rich, certain mineral-rich enhanced foods, to get better. And I think this is really where drugs will go in the future. Instead of taking a drug to cure your diabetes, or unfortunately most drugs do not cure anything. In my opinion, they're a crutch. My dad's on blood pressure lowering medications. It didn't just fix him. He has to take that for the rest of his life, and against my wishes, right? Maybe if he grew in the the heart health fertilizer, maybe he could get off his drugs and not have to keep buying drugs that basically don't do anything to fix the problem. They're a band-aid or a temporary crutch and not a full solution. Whereas I believe these products, if every drugstore, sold food, or if you could go to the grocery store and buy food grown in these mineral products, everybody could have really nutritious food, and maybe we wouldn't have any diseases in our world today. This is, I think, where we really need to go. These fertilizer products need to go out to big industries, and people need to start growing, especially if you're in the cannabis industry, medicinal cannabis. Can be grown with some of these trace minerals to get higher uptakes. So then when the users of the cannabis, hopefully they're juicing it or using it in its raw state, is going to get better results, because they're also going to get not only the cannabinoids, but also higher levels of certain trace minerals that have been implicated in certain diseases, right? So the future is great. I'm glad to be living in this time now. There's so much new information, technology, and things going on in the world so that you guys can get healthier one step at a time if you guys want to, right? And that's what I simply do. A lot of you guys are going to poo-poo this. John, that stuff's too expensive. Fine. You could garden on the cheap. Growing your own food is still better than the store, right? My goal, because I almost lost my life, is to grow the highest quality food so I don't end up back at the hospital again and being out of control. I'm going to control my ultimate destiny and my ultimate health, and I believe this is a product that can do it for you guys. So if you guys want to learn more about these products here, you want to visit the website westernenvironmentalservices.com. I'll also put the links down below this video so you guys could check it out. Also be sure to use the discount code GYG. That's going to be for a limited time only, and that's going to get you guys 30% off these soil conditioners, or even if you don't want to grow your stuff in the soil conditioners, which is the cheapest way, this bag, if you're just doling it out a teaspoon at a time with your transplants, or even in your plant starts, or when you're moving up into pots, or if you're just growing in pots, you can put a teaspoon in, the plant or around the seed That's going to definitely get some uptake. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention is that once you treat your soil, it's going to last for 4 years, so you don't have to add this stuff to your soil for another 4 years. But if it's in the bag, it's probably literally going to last forever. Like, the minerals in there are not just going to evaporate, right? So, yeah, it's definitely an investment to make, and an investment in your health. Oh, and if you don't want to use this stuff, of course, a discount code will also work, for the different powders that, in my opinion, are actually quite expensive. So definitely pays money in this case to buy the fertilizer products, grow your own food, and then actually take your food and then dehydrate it into your own powders so you could eat it in the winter and in times when you're not able to eat the healthiest food out of your own garden. I mean, that's pretty much my episode for today. I didn't eat lunch because I had to work through lunch to get all this planted, make this video for you guys. So I'm going to go in and eat lunch at dinner time, and then I'll eat dinner later. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this episode learning about the trace minerals and the importance of them, I also want to encourage you guys to go to the website down below to learn about the trace minerals and why they are so important. I'll also link to a database that talks about mineral deficiencies and what the health challenges you may see because of that. I mean, this is new evolving research, and I believe every, place that has like a health facility, retreat center that's growing food should be using these, especially for people with certain conditions, because it's only going to, in my opinion, up the level of, healing and success for people around the world. So yeah, anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, hey, please give me a thumbs up. I'll try to get out to Robert's place and see how he's growing it, what he's doing, make a full video there. If I get 1,000 thumbs ups, I got this place in Wyoming, hopefully in the summertime, because I'm going to freeze my butt off in the winter. Also, be sure to check the links down below in the description. I have links to the original video I did with Robert. Also, other, videos that I talked about in this episode. Also, the link to the place to buy the stuff. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new upcoming episodes. I have new upcoming episodes coming out about every 3 to 4 days on this channel. You never know where I'm going to pop up, what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I have over 1,200 episodes now at this point, teaching you guys all aspects on how to grow the highest quality food on the planet. So once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and we're here getting in finally to my end of my summer season. As you guys can see behind me, I've still got lots of pepper plants over on this bed, but this bed right here used to be pepper plants, and actually I